In Arcadia, we manufacture one of Weyerhaeuser's most in-demand products, structure wood. This structural panel is also referred to as oriented strand board, or OSB, by the wood products industry. Let's take a look at the manufacturing process and the people who make Weyerhaeuser's Arcadia mill the best. Our commitment to quality starts with our raw material, southern pine. We receive 65 to 80 truckloads of logs each day. Trucks enter at the scale house, are weighed and inspected, then proceed to the wood yard. The Arcadia mill uses small diameter logs that at one time would not have been able to be used in production. 100% of each log is utilized in our process. We use the wood for the panel, and we burn the bark and saw trim as fuel. In fact, about 60% of our energy is generated right here. Logs are placed on the rough decks where we have 2 debarker cabs which singulate the logs and feed log haul chains. These chains feed the logs through 2 Nicholson ring debarkers, where the bark is removed from the logs. The bark isn't suitable for our structure wood panels, but it's not waste. The bark drops down into our refuse bark conveyors and is conveyed to the fuel silos for use as fuel for our furnace. The logs are conveyed from the debarker to the cross-transfer deck. We have 2 strander cabs that feed the logs into the strander infeed chamber. We have 2 long log disc stranders that cut the logs into strands. The stranders run about 408 RPMs and are powered by a 1,000 horsepower motor. We run our strands into 2 vibrating screen conveyors that send the wet strands to the green storage bins. Our associates do strand checks on a regular basis to ensure the quality of our strands. They report their findings to the Quality Control Lab, and the lab tracks them so we'll know how we're doing on our strand quality. We look for a strand about the size of a Band-Aid, a very thin strand, 20 to 25 thousandths of an inch thick by 1.5 inches wide by 4 5/8 inches long. We also do other tests in the lab, like the Demco machine. It simulates a man's footstep or the heel of a man's foot on a roof. We also test the amount of bend it has at 200 pounds. If it bends more than 1/2 inch at 200 pounds, or if it breaks before it reaches 400 pounds, it's considered a failure. This furnace supplies us with the heat for our drying system and produces heat for the thermal oil heat exchanger, which heats our press. We maintain a furnace temperature of about 1500 degrees. The strands are sent in from the green bins and are fed through the dryers. Our strands average 110 to 125% moisture, targeting a 4% moisture end result. Average retention time for strands in the triple pass dryer is approximately 3.5 to 4 minutes. After the strands go through the dryers, they go to the cyclones, where the hot gas and strands are separated. The hot gases are sent to our emission system, which consists of the wet ESPs and the RTOs. These are machines and equipment we use to filter the air before we send it back into the atmosphere. From the cyclones, the strands drop into 3 rotary screens. This is where we separate the fines from the strands. Fines are strands too small to be used to make our panels. They are sent to dry fuel storage and are used as fuel for our furnace. Once the fines are removed, the strands are sent to the dry storage bins until they're ready to go to the blenders. Next, we run the dry strands through the blenders. Atomizers spray the dry strands with a fine resin and wax mist as they tumble in the blender drums. Here, strands are coated with the resin that will bond the fibers together and the wax that will make the board more resilient to water damage. After blending, the strands fall into the outfeed conveyors. From here, they're conveyed to the storage bunkers on the forming line and are fed into the forming heads. The forming heads form a continuous mat by laying strands down in 4 layers, 2 for the face and 2 for the core. This is where the name oriented strand board is derived, because of the way we orient the strands to form the panel. To ensure consistency and quality in all of our panels, we measure the weight of the strands on the forming line using scales on the forming belt. Then the mats go through a metal detector. When the mat passes this inspection, it's then run through a flying cutoff saw, which cuts the mats into 8-foot by 24-foot sections. When it leaves the saw, the conveyor is accelerated to create a gap between each mat. The bottom of each mat is then mated with a call screen, which serves two purposes. One, the screen texture helps convey the mat to the press. And two, the texture also helps workers on the job site walk on the finished panel with less danger of slipping. Once all 4 layers are in place, the mats are conveyed to the loader. When the loader cage is full, 12 mats at a time are loaded into the press. The press closes, and the press cycle begins. During the press cycle, heat and pressure cure the resin on the strands down to a targeted thickness. When the press cycle is over, the press opens, and the unloader cage unloads the entire press in one smooth motion. These are now finished master panels, ready to be cut to specified sizes to meet the needs of our customers. This entire complex procedure is monitored and controlled by experienced operators in our control room. Finished master panels are sent through the IMAL automated grading system, where they're inspected for blows, variation in thickness, low density, or any flaw that would mar the appearance or performance of our structure wood panel. If a panel fails to meet our specifications or is out of tolerance in any way, it will spray the panel with purple ink, and the panel will then be downgraded. At the saw line, the edges are trimmed. The panels are then cut to specified sizes, and nail lines are sprayed on the bottom of the panels. Usually, one master panel is cut into 6 4x8 sheets, and thicknesses range anywhere from 1/4 inch to 1 1/8. Panels are then cross-transferred to the grader line, where they are visually inspected by the saw line grader as another step to ensure the quality of our finished panels. Our graders make sure the boards are square, have a good clear quality stamp, and make sure the nail lines are on the bottom. Boards are then conveyed to the appropriate bin and are bundled together. Boards that are out of tolerance are downgraded or rejected. The bundles are fed through a spray booth where a paint sealant is applied to help keep out moisture. Each bundle is marked with the Weyerhaeuser logo and a description of the specific product in that bundle. Bundles are strapped and sent to the warehouse to await shipment to our customers. Our products are loaded quickly and safely for shipment by rail or truck. Thanks for taking the time to tour the Arcadia Structure Wood plant.